So I feel that, yes, the educated people should try and interpret their own religions, and all these religious leaders who are giving these teachings to the uneducated, we must try and correct them if they are going wrong somewhere. If we keep silent, I feel that is the biggest wrongdoing that we would be doing on any injustice that happens or anything that is going wrong. I see that as one thing. But conflicts will be there because there are differences, and differences will always be there because at different levels we are different from each other. And of course, we need to see our intrinsic values. So we all talk about goodness, truth. I want to talk about being hypocritical, hypocrisy. We find so much hypocrisy in society. I could be talking to you and be a part of this discussion right now, and I could go back and be doing something completely different, which is actually not in line with what I'm really doing. We talk about reform, we talk about justice in a country that has such a strong criminal justice system. So why did people start talking about capital punishment when it came to Ajmal? Why not talk about it when there are other people who are being given capital punishment? Why just him? And if we think reform is the solution, then we should be questioning our entire criminal justice system. I work for an organization, I'm actually founded Arpan, an organization that works on child sexual abuse. We have been counseling survivors of sexual abuse, children and adults. And we are also counseling sex offenders. People are always surprised when I say, oh, so you're doing that? Can you really do that? Can it really work? And my answer is, I don't know, but I'm trying. Because I do believe that offenders need help. If we need to prevent reoffense, we need to work with them. You can't ignore them. So we're trying to give therapeutic assistance to offenders so that they're able to understand that what they're doing is wrong. You can't be playing with a child's life like this and messing it up completely for good right through adult life. Because the trauma it leaves can completely mess up a person so badly. But I also say, you can't reform, I don't think you can reform pedophiles. There are people who just have the purpose of getting sexual gratification with children. There's actually a book out that was there on Amazon.com a few days ago, a guide to pedophiles. Look at the sickness in society. There's actually a book out there to guide pedophiles on how to go about their activities. Can we reform such people? I'm not so sure. Even if we could, it would take years and years. Do we have the resources to be able to invest that resources, which are anyway so limited, especially in a country like India? I'm sure all of you all know what is it costing us to keep Ajmal alive with us. Crores and crores and crores of money going on there. And I sit back and think, oh my God, if that money could be used to help the poor, if that money could be used to help educate the poor children or healthcare. These are just some thoughts. I'm not saying we need to follow a certain line. But these are just some thoughts, some questions that I have that you need to question the basic system if we want to talk about compassion, we want to talk about reform. Then we need to look at what our laws in this country are. So I think that, yeah, extremists should be kept away. Whether you want to reform them or not, that's another thing. But the amount of time we would put in there is something. So it goes with religious fanatics, people who've become so fanatical about their religion. Maybe we need to keep them away, because I don't know how much time it will take to reform them, and not at the cost of innocent lives, not at the cost of those innocent children out there, not at the cost of all those civilian people out there. Can we look at reform like that? Instead, we really need to concentrate on mutual acceptance of each other's faiths, each other's values, tolerance. I see that as our strength. Live and let live. And speak up when there is a wrong happening. Don't be silent. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pooja. We have our last speaker, and followed by that, there could be questions in the audience.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Good. First of all, I'm not Laurelie. My wife took the advice of an earlier speaker very seriously that women should be in charge, and she said, why don't you do it? So here I am, David Lee, not Laurelie Lee. I wonder if anybody has been to Iceland. Right, okay. Well, I have an admission for you. I'm ashamed to say I really don't care about Iceland. I know they've had a terrible time in the last 5 years with the economic disaster that the world has suffered. And hey, they're living on the side of a very big volcano. You know, it's very tough for them. But I can't really find it in my heart to feel anything of any substance for Iceland and the people who live there. Now, it's not because I'm a mean person, I don't think. That's really just the way that it is. Now, I know a lot about Iceland because, you know, we live in a global community. And I can get on the computer, I can find out all of the statistics about Iceland, I can tell you about their declining GNP and everything else. But as far as personal feelings, personal connections with the place and the people, really nothing at all. Now that indicates to me that there is a difference between global awareness and mutual acceptance. They're not at all the same thing. And those two together are quite different from what we are really aiming for. Now my wife, Laurelie, reminded me of a story, something that she experienced a few years ago when we lived in Oxford, in England. And as you know, the English, as a breed, are not a very approachable people. We tend to keep ourselves to ourselves and, you know, not always show our feelings to other people. Well, there was a woman that my wife passed on the street every day. They just happened to be out at the same time, and they would go past each other. And this woman never smiled. You know, she had that really low face, that really mean-looking face. And Laurelie would walk past her day by day, and Laurelie said, you know, I am going to communicate with this person. I'm going to get through to her. So she said, I'm going to smile. So every day she walked past this woman, and my wife smiled at her. That's all she did. She just smiled for 6 months.